Welcome back, and thanks again for joining us on this Wednesday, March 12th on the Owatonna Today Show. I did not mean to say that you were not my favorite, Joe.
Oh.
If you had 4 legs and were furry, maybe. No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding. Joe Green from the Owatonna Public Utilities, and your official title, sir, is again?
Director of Customer Service, Substation, and Generation.
There, and that's healthy on the name tag or the business card, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. So welcome. We're glad
Thank
you're here
you.
with us. So, how is this winter going? Don't we love it?
I don't know if we want to recap it, but from a utility standpoint,
it's been a cold one.
It's been a
record.
A very cold winter, and probably a lot of things from a utility standpoint that are really unprecedented for us.
Really?
From the amount of cold that we've had, it's really increased the natural gas that we've had to purchase for the city, for our customers.
Okay.
And now this new, I don't know if it's a phenomenon, but with all these water services and water mains freezing, the frost in the ground has gone down further than it probably has in the last 100 years that we know of.
Oh my gosh. We are you were just talking ahead of the program, fifth coldest
winter since the late 1800s is what I'm seeing and reading.
Yeah, when they
Very
started
cold.
keeping track of things like that. And so here we are with all these below zero days.
Yes.
It affects a lot of things. So you mentioned the natural gas usage, but one of the things that we want to talk about here today is our water service.
Yes.
So it is greatly affecting some people's water services. Maybe we're hearing of freezing pipe services. Tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, it's not just unique to Owatonna. It's happening all over. Customers' water services are freezing, and they're losing water to their homes, to their, even in some cases, their businesses. And it's the result of the frost has gone down as much as 6 feet or more. And that's when that gets down to where the water service is that comes off of our water main.
Okay.
And our water mains are out in the street, so that water service connection all the way up to your house is where we're seeing customers having issues.
Well, and that's what I wanted to clarify with you. So when we're talking about what belongs to the Owatonna Public Utilities, that is the mains that are literally under our streets, correct?
Right. The water mains are out in the street, and the water services connect to that. And sometimes the water services can run 100 feet or more to get to the homes.
To get to the house.
And so what we're encouraging customers to do is to run, if there are issues, if they're seeing low water pressure, if their neighbor's water services has frozen, we're asking customers to run their water, and preferably in a basement, to want to run the water about a pencil-sized stream continuously, and we think that may need to carry on through potentially the end of March.
Okay.
But we really need customers that are susceptible to maintain a continuous flow of water.
Okay.
And that continuous flow of water will help to prevent their water service from freezing, as well as make sure the heat in your home, don't turn your thermostat below 55 degrees. I don't think most customers are doing that.
Not if we're living there.
No. If there's cabinets or any areas where you can open up doors to let the heat circulate around pipes, if you have to insulate pipes, do that. But it's really much cheaper for customers to run a water faucet somewhere until this passes. And
and that was going to be my question. So we're all so concerned. We get little dripping faucets, and we know that water is, and immediately we start hearing dollar signs in our mind. What's adding up. But the cost of actually running that slow, small stream of water and preventing is can't say it, but I know what I want to say, negligible compared to the repair that could happen.
Right. It's about $1 a day. And if you were having to call a plumber or another type of service to come out, it could be $350 to $1,000, and that doesn't take into account if you had pipes that would break to repair those.
Okay. So we're just talking about frozen. We're not even talking about broken pipes, and that's a whole another issue. So did you say there's a particularly good spot to keep the water running, or just anywhere in the house, any particular sink?
Obviously, if you have an opportunity to do that in a basement or an area where there's a drain nearby, if something were to happen, you wouldn't have water running on a main level down into the basement. So ideally in the basement, if it works out, if your basement's finished and you have that ability to run water down there.
So I'm thinking there might be homes that are more at risk, or dwellings that are more at risk, if you, like townhomes, or if they're on slab, there's no basement there to get warmth underneath. Is that something that's more at risk?
It could be, especially depending where that water service comes into that slab. If, like you mentioned, if there isn't a basement. The other areas that we've identified are dead ends on our water mains, areas where maybe there's a cul-de-sac. And there just isn't as much water flowing into that area. Okay. It's really areas where there isn't a lot of water flow that we've identified, and we've contacted those customers. We've asked them to run the water. Okay. But it is the responsibility of the homeowner. The homeowner will pay for that water, but like you mentioned, Deb, it's much cheaper to run a faucet than to have somebody come in to repair pipes or
because we are responsible for that service that comes to our house, correct? As homeowners,
that is correct.
Belongs to us,
right?
Really.
The connection to the water main all the way up to the house.
Okay. So what are some of the questions? There's a little piece here. I'm sure folks can look on your website too and find a little bit more frequently asked questions. But what are maybe some of the questions that would come up? Like, okay, I think it's frozen, what do I do? Or I saw a drop in water pressure. I mean, who do I call? Do I call the utilities? Do I call my plumber? What do I do first?
Well, we certainly are tracking that. We'd like to know if customers are having issues, but definitely call a plumber. Okay. A plumber, they've been busy now for the last month or longer, and they'll know what to do. Okay,
all right. And the whole goal, keep it from freezing, keep it from breaking, obviously, and anything that we can do to prevent that.
Yeah, one other thing is if you have a thermometer is to check that water temperature. If it gets below 40 degrees, that's really when it can drop very quickly, and that's when you could see the likelihood of your water pipes freezing or losing the water service.
Okay, so we need to measure potentially the temperature of our water. Just run the cold water?
Run the cold water,
see what the
hold the thermometer underneath the water tap. Okay. Check the temperature, and typically water coming out of the ground is around 45 or so degrees. Okay. So if you're seeing it fall below 40, that's an indication that you need to run water.
Okay, that you might be at risk of some of those things. Okay. So, and again, we're seeing the ground frozen much deeper than we ever have because of the winter that we've had and issues that might not normally come up in a normal winter.
Yes.
That's why we're seeing what we're seeing, isn't it?
Exactly. And like I said, it's probably going to stay with us for a while. We've had water mains break. If customers see water out in the street, that's usually an indication that a water main might be ruptured somewhere. Notify us, and we'll get that repaired. But actually, as it gets warmer, the frost actually can go deeper for a while.
Really?
And it shifts the ground, and that's really what causes the water mains to break. Okay.
So now if and there's really nothing that you can do. You can't get in there and thaw them out or anything, right? I mean, the plumbers, they can do some things, I think, to try to get things working, but if we're faced with a real serious situation and something froze solid, someone could be potentially without water until we get warmer.
And that's happened until that there's some movement where the ice can flow out of that water service. Yeah, they could potentially be out of water until it warms up. But I think we're headed in the right direction.
Well,
at least it feels like it.
It's felt a little warmer lately, but yeah, just kind of a little scary to know that it could get a little worse before it gets better too as we get into this season.
Especially if the nights are below freezing.
Yeah. So a little bit back to the natural gas. We just want to mention that too. Extra usage in January and February because of those cold days is going to cause us to see a little jump in prices?
It is. Natural gas prices jumped here in March, and because of all the natural gas we purchased in January and February, we're going to see an increase in our rates probably I know certainly for March and maybe for the next few months, we'll see an increase in natural gas prices. And that's really to recover the costs, which is our natural gas is a pass-through cost to the customers, but to recover those costs that where we purchased gas and natural gas in January and February.
Okay. Yeah, nothing we could do about that. So, okay, well, thank you very much. And, of course,
the
Owatonna Public Utilities has a great website to go on. Give them a call if you have questions about some of the things we talked about here. Joe, thanks so much for joining us and filling us in. I'm going home. I'm going to measure the water temperature of my cold water and see if I need to do anything. But thank you very much for great information today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We'll take a break for our supporters, and we'll come back with the Steele County Humane Society.